Well, thank you guys all for joining us for our Rise Capital Investments. We're wrapping up 2023 and wanted to kind of share with you guys what our process is, walk you through it, and how you can evaluate your year and your own portfolio. So, my name is Zasha Smith with Rise Capital Investments, and we just launched our fund in June, officially in July, and we are a debt and equity fund. And I'm here with a few of our partners. And so we kind of wanted to go over this past year and also how you could make 2024 even better. Emma, take it away.
Hey, thanks everybody for coming. We'll try and keep it light and fun, holiday spirit. We do some serious work around here. The deals we do have a lot of zeros after them, and it's easy to get really dry and boring when we're dealing with finances and all of that. But at the same time, at the bottom of what we do, and this is really where we're kind of coalescing our values as a company in 2023, it's about lifestyle. It's about spending time with the people that we love. It's about gaining financial freedom, not so that we can have money and be down in boring spreadsheets all day. Unless you like boring spreadsheets, then you can be down in the spreadsheet all day. But most of us are really doing this because we're looking for a certain kind of a lifestyle that can be supported by financial freedom. And real estate is one of those tools that gives us financial freedom because it's really the only asset that I know of that both goes down in value to save you money on your taxes, depreciation, and up in value, appreciation at the same time. That's why it's such a powerful investment tool. You can depreciate a lot of things, but they're not going to be going up in value in real life like real estate does. So that's really the core of our mission, is to bring investing to you as a way of having a great fun lifestyle and being able to gain financial freedom. And so that's one thing that we've been working on ourselves for the past 5 or 6 years. When I first got into real estate investing, it was really just a hedge against him getting another tech layoff from his W-2. And within just a couple of months of getting started, because I had leveled up the kind of people that I was spending time with at real estate investing clubs and conferences and online classes and things like this, I realized how many millionaires I was meeting, like multiple digit millionaires. And at first, when I first started, they'd say, "Oh, most of my deals come out of my network." And I would say, "I don't have a network. I can't just go down to Walmart and buy a network. I can't just go to a fancy store and find investors who want to invest in my projects with me." I didn't know anybody, but so I said, "Oh, okay, I'm going to go places where I can meet people who are doing what I want to be doing, and I'm going to spend time with them, learning from them and being inspired by them and their lifestyle." And suddenly I realized not only was I spending a lot of time with really wealthy people who were doing some amazing things, I realized there were people in my life that I already knew who were very wealthy. They just didn't talk about it. So when I started getting myself out there on social media and posting about what I was doing with my real estate, what I was doing with the apartments I was buying, just starting to put out the feelers for attracting investors into my products and my projects, I had friends of mine that I'd known for years reach out to me in a DM and say things like, "Hey, I'd love to hear more about what you're doing with your investment. I own 3 hotels, an apartment building, and my net worth is $15 million. I thought, "What? I've known you for 10 years and you just live down the street from me in a normal house where we're struggling. And they're doing this." And this happened again and again and again. And that made me realize, like, wow, there is something going on in this world, in my network. And then they started introducing me to other people. "Oh, did you know so-and-so? He's a developer downtown. He's not, I thought he was just own a construction company. But turns out he's building apartment buildings." And I had no clue. So as I started to coalesce people around me, more people came out of the woodwork, and I thought this is really going to be a powerful business opportunity. And instead of just saying, "Well, if he gets laid off, it won't be a panic attack," instead I said, "I think that we can become really wealthy and we can replace his income and he can quit. And then we can either run this business together or sit in Mexico." We didn't know. We just knew that we really wanted financial freedom. We really started going after it. And so what ended up happening during that period of time was I would do a deal with different people. So we'd buy a building and you'd have me and a couple other guys. Then I'd buy another building and it would be me and a couple other guys. And so I had many, many partnerships. And over the course of many properties and developing many partnerships, I ended up starting an investing club of my own where I put people together where they wanted to be doing deals. We'd meet every single week. You get a sense when you're in a partnership with somebody who does what they say they're going to do, who catches on quickly, who follows up, who just walks the talk instead of just talking it. You run into a lot of people. It's a lot of sifting, figure out who's the real deal and who's just a big talker. And over the years, what ended up happening is doing deals inside the club and with my partnerships, I ended up finding a group of people that I thought I really want to do something long-term with these couple of people. And I knew that I wanted to start an investment fund. I'd known that for a couple of years, but I knew it would be, frankly, a lot of work. And I didn't feel up to doing it by myself. And it wasn't really conducive to our passive income lifestyle that we said we wanted to start a big business and be running everything ourselves. And so I went out on a hunt for the CEO, basically. We come from a data science and tech startup background. And what will happen is the founder will come in and he'll create something, but he doesn't really want to be CEO. And so when they're trying to raise capital, they'll bring in a new CEO into that mid startup phase. And the CEO will then proceed to kind of run the company down. And I started looking up stats where businesses that kept their founder as a CEO actually performed better than businesses who brought in a CEO after the fact, supposed to come in and save the business and raise the value, and then they're going to be able to go out and raise all this money. And so I knew that when I started this business that I wanted my co-founder to be the CEO, so be with us from the beginning, grow from the beginning, no big jars, and somebody who really knew what he was doing. And so Chris and I had been working together for a while, and then one day he says, "Oh yeah, this is really similar to what I used to do." And I said, "What did you used to do?" And he said, "Oh, I used to be a CEO of $1 billion company." I said, "Wait, what?" And as we started working together more, I realized that Chris, you're that guy. You walk the talk, you do what you say you're going to do. And Harmony and I got along really well. Every time we saw each other at events, she would come and we would talk, we would chat real estate. Like she was right in there with it, became a realtor and started lending money. And you were really both just very committed. And I felt like these are the people that I want to start this fund with. And it took me 6 months to talk you into it. But then I feel like what ended up coming together was a group of people that we had done so many deals with. Like Sasha, you did 4 or 5 deals with us in the club. Lais and Raquel came in and did deals. And every time somebody would drop the ball, one of you would come in and pick it up. And I would see this over and over again. And I thought, again, these are the people who are doing what they say they're going to do. And so that was how the team was brought together. I had dozens of partners at that point, and I just really knew that it took me 3 years to start this fund because I felt like I'm really looking for the right team of people. So that happened in late 2022. We finally got together and we said, we're going to do this. It started out the planning, and it took us the early part of 23 to really dial in the business plan and to get all of our legal documents done. That took a while, and we were finally able to file our Form D in July of 2023. And immediately started doing our first couple of deals, raising capital and doing our first couple of deals. So that's the story of why I got into real estate investing, why I really jumped into it full force, and how I found my partnership and how we put Rise Capital together. And I'm so excited because with our tech startup background, our entrepreneurial background, Sasha and Raquel are running their own businesses. Lais has a deep corporate experience. Harmony and Chris, you have both sides of the startups now with the businesses you're running, and then also the knowledge of how to run a very large business. And so I'm really excited about where we're going and how we're going to be able to scale what we're doing to help as many investors as possible achieve financial freedom and come back to that living life on their own terms.
And I think you touched on a really important part of it was to find these partners, because a lot of people have questions on like, okay, who do I know how to trust? Is that if you start off in these networking groups and kind of see who the leaders are or those taking action, stay close to those people because they're the ones who you can count on to pull through in the end. So thank you for bringing that up because networking is huge and we're all about that here. Maybe Chris, you want to touch on kind of how you guys got started and then how I know you're the main one who helps us to evaluate these deals and how you do it for any of those who are more of the integrators or the people that like to look through the numbers and how they can set goals for themselves, having that background.
Absolutely. First off, we obviously got to give a big shout out to Emma because Emma was I used to tease people with this, but I would call it the epoxy, the glue that kind of brought us all together. So that I think Emma was the epoxy, and Troy was the catalyst to put it all together. So thank you guys very much. But I'll let Harmony kind of give the backstory on like how we got started, how our journey started, and I'll jump into more of the what Emma called the boring underwriting side of things.
Yeah, and Harmony is such a good story.
I'm giving the backstory, where do I start? So when we moved here, before we even moved here, when Chris was ready to leave the corporate world, I wasn't on the same page initially, and it took a minute to convince me. Living in the hotel for 4 months when I moved here with our son by ourselves to buy a home at the height of the market, which was, the tough time.
For the audience out there, where is here?
Oh, sorry, Utah. So leaving Maui to come to Utah, leaving Hawaii to come to Utah. And we get that all the time. Why would you trade the ocean for anything? And I mean, if you've seen the mountains, especially with the snow cap on them, they're beautiful. And then just being in the mainland closer to our kids, our older children was the number one for us. But bigger was, okay, he was done with his corporate career. He's like, I don't want to do this anymore. This is what I want to do. And going into real estate, he had already started all the education and I was ignoring it, which is what I normally did when it came to real estate anyways, unless I seen something I wanted to buy. And I didn't know how or what. I just kind of signed the papers is what I was in that, I guess, aspect of a corporate wife, because I was concentrating on myself and the kids and doing what we were doing on a different island from him. So moving here took me out of my box. And one of the things we like to concentrate on is doing the uncomfortable. And that was definitely uncomfortable, moving to another state, thousands of miles away from everybody, and being here for 4 months by ourselves in a hotel. I was like, I better learn what he's really going to get into. I better start learning this because he's going to start partnering with people. And I am that controlling wife. Like, I'm not going to even try to hide it. I'm that bossy, controlling wife. So I need to know what he's getting into. And if he's going to have a partner, it's me. So I started looking into it. And I mean, I had faith in him and what he's capable of doing. So I was never afraid of the financial. He was more like, okay, wanting to make sure. And he's always been that way. But once I started to learn it, and then he kind of threw me into what I thought was going to be the lion's den initially with my first RIA without him, by myself, not knowing what any acronyms were. I didn't know what seller financing was. I barely even knew how to buy a house except for sign my name. So going into those events and then that world just welcoming us with open arms and so friendly. It was just an amazing experience. So it made learning a lot easier, and diving into what we eventually came out to do. We thought we were going to do fix and flips and buy and holds. And a lot of you have heard that story. I wanted to be like Joanna Gaines, where I just point on what I wanted.
That would make me Chip Gaines.
Yes.
Wasn't having it.
Because he needed, but it wasn't going to be me to paint and things like that. So, once we realized that wasn't the route we were going to take and just started networking, that's what escalated everything really fast, was those relationships. I mean, our first deal besides our own with buy and hold here and things like that was lending. And that was just being at an event, talking to somebody within 5 minutes. He's like, well, if you have money, I have a deal if you want to get it working for you right now. And that started our lending path, which now has transferred over to the fund. And then really quickly, seeing Emma speak at an event, I was like, she's raising all this money. You know how many fundraisers I've done? I could raise money. And that was my thought. I was like, I've done the Heart Association, I've done kids' schools, I've done all these things. I can do this. And then when they started getting to the underwriting, I'm like, nope, that's not me. And then that's where it became him. So just seeing how quickly you can jump into something and just escalate so fast with the relationships, that was huge for us. But I'll turn it over to him to the underwriting side of it, because that's the part I
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we should spend too much time on the underwriting or just for us. We look at all types of deals, but I think so. Troy and I had we got together. What was it, a week ago, and we talked about. Emma's playing around with the computer.
Sorry, I was trying to highlight you, and it highlighted me instead.
I was like, what is she doing? She's trying to zoom in on Troy. But we so Troy and I got together a week ago, and we talked more about like our paths, our transitions from our W-2s to the getting into more of the entrepreneurial roles. And for us, it was more, and Emma touched on it as well, but it was more about the why. Like, have that why drive you, and have that be your goals, and work it backwards, right? Figure out ultimately what is the why. The why for us ended up navigating. Honestly, we'd navigated into something completely different than what we originally anticipated. A lot of it was spending time with our family, which we all knew that, but it became to a point where we wanted something more, something even larger than that. And we started talking to ourselves, talking amongst ourselves, and saying, how can we actually make an impact out there? And there has to be some more than life than just going to work, or even starting a business and making money. There has to be some money. Even real estate is just honestly just a tool to get to wherever you want to get to. And everyone's why is going to look different. It could just be traveling the world. It could be spending time with your family. But for us, it was something a bit larger, and we wanted more. So we wanted to figure out how can we make an impact in the world on a larger scale, which we're starting to do that as well. And that's what real estate has given to us, and this lifestyle has given to us, is there's more multiple streams of passive income. That the more, like, I like to use money as a tool. The more money you make, it's only going to amplify who you are. If you're a bad person, I don't care. You're still going to do bad things. And money is not necessarily bad, but if you're a good person, you look to see all of the good that you can actually do with all of that money. And that's the journey that we're on now. We want to make as much money as we possibly can to put more good out there in the world. And yeah, I kind of want to more leave it at that. Maybe even flip it back over to Troy a bit, because I know he touched on it the last time. Kind of dive in a bit more into his whys.
Yeah, I think that was the probably the main reason that I was stuck in a W-2 job and didn't realize it. I'd spent my life trying to help other people from the back, kind of the back closet, so to speak, as an IT professional, and not really seeing any of my efforts going to help my fellow man. And so I looked to real estate investing as a way to not only free up my time from my W-2, but also to provide me with those opportunities to be able to help other people in need. And when we first got into this real estate investing, we noticed that there wasn't a lot of avenues to educate people on how to invest in larger deals, large multifamily commercial type of things. And so as a attempt to help educate people and help them avoid spending unnecessary money on educational programs and be able to put their money towards actual deals while they're learning and working with mentors, is why we ended up starting this club. And it's been our goal all along, and we've been doing this for a little while now, and it is much more fulfilling than sitting behind a desk in a cubicle somewhere in a large office building and not being able to see the impact that you're having on people's lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe, I don't know, Zasha. So again, we can get into the real estate side of it, but I like ending out the year, because we're ending out the year in something a little bit more meaningful. Give us like a behind the scenes of why we're doing what we're doing. Don't mean to hijack the LinkedIn here, but
ultimately it's the name of the game right now.
Ultimately, when you're investing, there's the biggest thing that you're going to look at is who you're investing with, who are you partnering with. That's the biggest thing. You want to definitely understand and align yourself with the values, because ultimately that's what's going to take you through the good times as well as the bad times. And you want to make sure you're aligning yourself with the right people, which is, I think, what Emma was alluding to, just on the team side of things. So how about just like, why are you doing what you're doing, and what drives Zasha Smith?
Besides
work.
Right. So I didn't mention, but I can't come from an engineering background. I grew up in low-income housing, raised by a single mom, and then put myself through college, became a civil engineer because I thought, okay, I have to get a really good job so I can afford to live in Hawaii. And after moving back, I realized it wasn't fulfilling me. It was taking a lot of my time, and I was always working and not really spending time with my family. I felt burnt out. And so when I started looking into real estate, or, searching like for the younger people, how to get rich on Google, a lot of people who own real estate came up. And so I ended up getting into fix and flips because I knew that could replace my active income sooner than later. I set a 10-year goal and I achieved that in like 1 or 2 years. So that was really when the light bulb went off. We're like, okay, there's something with this real estate investing that you can definitely gain a lot of momentum depending on your risk tolerance. And so with that, however, I found that it turned into another job. Fix and flipping is like you're constantly needing to turn properties. And so I started buying rental properties on my own, and then hiring out the property management side. But then I thought to myself as well, like, man, everybody talks about like passive income. This is not passive at all. And I think because of the way that I was buying deals, and I wanted to do the BRRRR strategy, get all my money back out, which is great as far as having a lot of equity in those deals. However, it was still taking a lot of time. And then so in 2022, I started looking in other strategies. And I always seen people talk about like, oh, I'm invested in our apartment building, but I didn't really know how it worked. And so once I connected with Chris and Harmony, who was doing like hard money lending in that aspect, they're like, hey, come to this club, come to this meeting, and you can learn about commercial real estate. Started learning, and immediately for me, I need to take action right away. And so I jumped into 4 deals, which I learned, pretty quickly, but I also believed in them as just individuals. And I knew that we aligned in our goals in order to impact, in order to help other people. And my whole goal, because I came from low income housing and lived in an expensive market, is to be able to build an affordable housing project one day. And that's coming sooner than later. And so I started all of this in 2019 and have escalated pretty quickly, but it definitely is an attribute to the people that I have around me and who have guided me along the way. And then now being able to work together and everybody achieve their dreams of making that larger impact. So I think that's why we all connected as well, is we all love to help people. We're very loyal and reliable, and we have big dreams and we can do it. So I think going, when you're setting your goals, especially into the new year, like think big. Don't limit yourself to only what you know that you can achieve. I think when we think outside of the box or you think bigger, it's scary, but then it's also exciting. And so, of course, you make the small steps to get there. But I think that's what's helped me achieve so much in such a short amount of time.
You're an inspiration to all of us.
We all are.
Emma, so I'm taking over. Emma, what can we anticipate for 2024?
Now I feel like how Harmony feels. That's all good.
That's the CEO of Blood and Me just taking over.
I'm running this meeting now. So my kids say that I do that, and Troy says that I do that. But for some reason, and I've always done that in business, but in this team, it's actually been just so nice to have people showing up for me and being able to have people that I really rely on. Not to say that none of my other partners or, this partner especially haven't shown up for me, but there's just such a feeling of comfort and relief knowing that this team is in it for the long haul and we're learning about each other and learning how to work well together. It's just really nice. So not perfect, but I think that's part of the appeal, is that one of the reasons that I love the team is the same reason that I love real estate. I was a real estate photographer for 10 years. And when I went into a house, there was a story there. There were people who lived there, and whether they were home or not, I could talk to them, or just looking at how they decorated their home, it really told me a lot about the people who lived there. And I learned to love buildings because of the people who lived and worked in the buildings, through being in thousands of buildings and taking a million photos to highlight how great these buildings are. And it was really all boiled down to the people. And I feel like it's the same thing as we're kind of discovering each other and being able to figure out what that story is really great. So that is going to continue in 2024, really coalescing as a team in our joint values and learning to work even better with one another's strengths and weaknesses, because that's why we have a large team, is because somebody brings something unique and somebody else has a weakness that needs to be covered, and learning to say, okay, we work really well together because we're covering all the strengths, and the weaknesses just diminish in importance because the strengths are what we focus on. And that's just a fantastic experience. So that value of working together and that appreciation for buildings as housing for humans extends over to working with investors, and each investor's story is so unique and so interesting. And so getting to know our investor base even more. So you could expect to get phone calls from us just to check in, just to say, hey, wanted to find out what you're working on. What are you investing in? What are your goals? Whether you're end up investing with us or not, these are the kind of relationships that we want to build with people to help them reach their goals. Because what's going to trickle out of that is enough investors that we will be able to reach our goals financially and from a company standpoint. At the same time, we're building a huge network of relationships. And so reaching out and talking to each one of you and just checking in and just figuring out what it is that you're looking for. And if we have the resources to help you get there, investing with us through our fund. And these are the deals that we invest with together for our own early retirement. So we're curating these deals, we're bringing them out and helping you invest with us through that fund or through our club. If you want to be a little bit more hands-on, because everybody's goals are different and you may be moving more active while I'm moving more passive, it's really very unique. Or if you are looking at anything else, it's like sometimes people will call me up and they'll ask me for help, and ends up that they really need something that we don't quite do and it's not a fit there. And they'll say something like, I want to do something for you. I feel like I want to offer something back. And what can I do for you? And I always say a referral. I would love you to introduce me to anybody that you think would benefit from what we do. And so it seems like no matter what conversation we have, that something good always comes out of it for both parties somehow. So that is really our focus on 2024, is the people in the buildings and the people in the business, and the people in the investors and the people that we network with. As far as the deal side goes, the actual properties themselves, we are anticipating doing 1 to 2 properties per month. So we have a couple of sources that will be consistently bringing in deals from a joint venture partnership standpoint, and then we will be doing more private lending. So if you have a deal that you want a loan on, like even a single family home, that type of thing, or any smaller commercial buildings, things like that, or some mezzanine debt for a larger building if you need a second, these types of products, we really want to be able to talk to you and see if we can fund some of your deals. If you have capital that you want to get put into place, it's just like you said, Harmony, when somebody comes up to you at a meeting and they're asking what it is that you're looking for, you're like, well, I have some money. And they're like, I can get it to work for you right away. That's basically how I started as well. I showed up to that RIA meeting. I had some money from a house we just sold. I didn't know what I was doing. And somebody said, I can put it to work for you right away. And a month later, I was the first lien holder on this house that he was flipping. So that was my first real estate investment. So helping people be able to get into those properties. So if you have a deal, bring it to us. But we also will be reaching out to investors to be able to fund 1 to maybe 2 properties per month for the next year. And our anticipated total raise for that is somewhere in the $10 to $15 million range. And so that $15 million with a $50,000 minimum equals 300 investors. If you divide that by 7 of us, that's something like 42, 3 investors per team member. And so that's really what we're looking at. If we can reach that $15 million target with 300 investors, then that's really the scope and the size of what we're seeking to do inside of our business in 2024. And at the end of 2024, we'll have another reflection, another look back, another look forward. I'm already kind of thinking some things for 2025 as this fund will start to go into the winding down phases, and what we're going to launch after this to serve even more investors as we go forward in the next 18 months or so. So that's what we're expecting on the property side. You will see single family home flips on the small side, all the way up to large apartment buildings and industrial triple net leases, things like the RV park, self-storage on the large side. And so the point of the fund is to be very diversified. You get to pick each individual deal. You don't just invest in the fund and we choose those for you. You pick out what you want. You opt in, you opt out. When you have capital, you put it in. If you don't have capital, you don't. And if you see a deal you like, you invest. If you see it, that's one that's not a good fit for me, you don't. And so that's the really nice thing, is we can become more diversified because you have control over what you're choosing. So be expecting to see different kinds of real estate deals, mostly commercial, but there will be a little bit of residential in there as well. And the way that we have it structured is to make it very customizable for you, your investor, and your experience. So if you're an accredited investor, let us know if you don't know what that means. Get on a call and see if you're qualified to invest. But if you're an accredited investor, you just jump into our portal, you log in, and as deals come up, you'll be notified and you can check it out and see if you want to place some capital in that deal. So that's really 2024 moving forward.
If you guys want to learn more about us, more in detail, because she did throw out a bunch of technical words there with between debt and equity and all kind of lien holders and all different types of stuff. If you want to kind of learn more, you can go to Partner with Rise, and there's a bunch of educational material on there as well that can help you somewhat navigate that and transition through some of the terminology that we like to use that we assume everyone understands.
Yeah, we have a glossary we have a free short ebook that explains some of the most important terms. And in the back, this is a definition of the glossary. So go to partnerwithrise.com. And there are a few simple things that you're going to need to learn how to function in any industry. And so we try to put them all in one short ebook so that you can get the basics of what you would need to feel comfortable jumping into if it's your first investment. But if you have an experienced investor portfolio working with other funds, other syndicators, we want to talk to you too, because it's important to be diversified across not only multiple markets, multiple operators, multiple funds, things like that. And so we want to be part of the portfolio that you're putting together, whether it's your first time or whether you're experienced doing this.
Definitely. And before we end, our other two partners couldn't be on with us. I think one is actually on the road to spend time with her family, and the other one is probably either with her family or working, but definitely want to do a shout out to them. It literally takes a village to create this fund, and we're all navigating our parts in it, and they're a very important piece of it. So thank you to Raquel and Lais. We miss you guys on here, but I'm sure we'll see you guys on the next one. But Zasha, do you want to close it up before Chris takes this mic back?
Well, like I mentioned before, and my partners mentioned, go to partnerwithrise.com if you want to find out more info. And for those who are currently investing with us, thank you so much for putting your trust in us. And we hope to see more of you guys investing into the new year as well. Mahalo.
Mahalo. Mele kalikimaka, everyone.
Mele kalikimaka.
You're not
Waka, waka, waka.